I was babysitting my niece once. I was staying at my brother's place, and they had the baby camera set up so I could see her on the little TV it came with. I was studying and started dozing off when I heard someone whispering and realized it was coming from the monitor. I initially thought it was some feedback or something, but when I looked at the TV, there was a dark shadow near my niece's crib. I've never been more terrified in my life, but the shadow was clearly there, where it had not been before. I ran to my niece's room and looked around and saw nothing. I took her out of there. I went back to the TV and the shadow was clearly gone. I told my brother what happened and he pulled me aside and told me not to mention it to my sister-in-law because she'll freak out. He said that she had seen this thing several times now, with the same whispering. They stayed in that house for about 4 more years, and when my niece was just learning to talk, she would tell her mom about her special friend. To this day, it scares me really bad. When they moved out, my brother told me my niece had become inconsolably sad because she would miss her friend. Her mom would tell her that she could bring him along, but all she would say was that he couldn't leave the house. We have never to this day told her about that shadow, and she apparently never saw it. Late at night, I usually go to the bathroom multiple times, but for the past 4 days, every time I go to leave, I can see myself still, standing in the mirror from the corner of my eye. It's like this other me is watching me leave the bathroom. It terrifies me to the point where I almost run out without looking directly at the mirror. I never told anyone about it because I didn't want to acknowledge it out loud. Earlier today, I took a nap in our bed while my husband sat in the chair next to it watching TV. When I woke up, he told me that he had seen me sit up and crawl backwards to the edge of the bed and stand up in front of our bedroom door from the corner of his eye. He thought it was weird that I got up like that because I'm in the last month of my pregnancy and I can't really move so good without it hurting. So he tried talking to me. When I didn't answer, he looked at the door to find me not there and still sleeping in bed. When he told me this, I got really creeped out and I finally told him about what I'd been seeing in the bathroom. He thought it was creepy as well, but didn't really want to talk about it because he thinks it will give whatever it is more power or energy. I have no idea what it wants or why we both saw it. When I was a teenager, I used to babysit my cousin Alyssa. She was little, maybe almost 2, maybe a little bit older. Old enough to say sentences anyways. I'm giving her a bath before bed when she looks out into the hallway and gets a terrified look on her face and starts crying. At this moment, my aunt's Pomeranian starts going nuts as well, barking and growling into the hallway. The atmosphere in the room became uncomfortable and I started getting scared. I took her downstairs from the 3rd floor in the townhouse to try to calm her down. I asked her what was wrong and she said something along the lines of, "The man with the black eyes was there." When I continued to pry, she looked up at the 2nd floor stairs, her eyes getting big, and she looks at me. Bringing her finger to her mouth, she said, "Shh," while shaking her head no. I didn't grow up believing in ghosts. Then one morning when we were 16, when my friend's mom picked us up for carpool, I mentioned that I was really creeped out by this bathroom under the stairs in my house that no one ever used. I couldn't exactly define why I felt this way. I just found it eerie. The house I grew up in was an old Victorian home built in the 1800s. So eerie vibes were part of the package. Hearing this reminded my friend of her own creepy bathroom association. She told me that when she lived in the German countryside for a year, there was a little section in the home that no one but her middle sister used, who was about 9 years old at the time. During this time period, her sister would wake up with bloodshot eyes, sometimes even bruises, and feel totally exhausted. They did everything to investigate what was going on, including sleeping in her room, working with a child psychologist and a school counselor. My friend doesn't remember much from this time period other than her sister being disturbed by something the year they lived there. She mentioned that she and her other sister, the oldest, also hated using that bathroom because they would always feel off and find thick black hair stuck in the drain, even though each one of them had fine blonde hair. At this point in the story, my friend's mom abruptly stopped the car and jerked her head around and said, "That's where the woman who once lived there killed herself. She drowned herself in the bathtub." Her mom was clearly shaken by telling us this. She said that was part of the reason why they moved, because something just fell off in that house.